Welcome to Veterans in Pain VIP Vet Talk. So what we're going to be covering today is unlike anything you've ever heard, but when you hear the title, you're going to go, I've heard. You haven't. This has to do with CBD, but the reality behind CBD, what is it really made of? Is it really a drug? And if it is a drug, how does it work within your system? What about dosage? You're going to find out about dosage. You're going to find out about ingredients. What is CBD? What is the cannabinoid system within your body? Is that CBD? Who knew? But join us today with Verity Therapeutics. We just partnered with them. We're really excited about it. They're providing CBD for our veterans, as well as we have a program set up through their charitable giving program. But when I learned about their product, the quality behind it, the fact that it's 100% THC free for our veterans, and then the conversation got deeper. So I'm really excited about it and can't wait to share it with you. So welcome to VIP Vet Talk. Put on your seatbelt. Hello, everyone, and welcome to VIP Vet Talk. Today, we're going to be meeting with Jeff Krall and Danny Bannister from Verity Therapeutics, and we're going to try to unveil some of the stigma behind CBD, THC, the types of products that are offered with both of them. We have recently partnered with Verity Therapeutics with their charitable giving program. Very proud to do so. And we've done so because of the quality of their CBD and the fact that for many veterans, it's very important for them that when they even consider taking CBD, that it has no THC in it. And it is lab proven that Verity Therapeutics does not have THC in some of their CBD products. And that's very important for our veteran population, especially within our program. So Jeff Krall, I'd like to start with you. If you'd like to tell us a little bit about Verity. Jeff, can you please share with us your position within the company?
Micaela, I'm president of the company, but my background really comes in major pharmaceutical companies. I have over 25 years of experience, and that is what has driven me in the formation of this company and putting this together. The same quality expectations that you would have from a large pharmaceutical company, I have those same expectations for Verity Therapeutics. So we want to make sure that although we're an over-the-counter drug, we want to be as close to quality standards as possible. And so my background drives the vision of this company. And in working with Danny and knowing his commitment to quality, commitment to research, and commitment to the product is really what helped us form this company and get it out to market.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for explaining that. We really do appreciate it. And of course, your interest in our veterans and their well-being. If you'd like to tell us a little bit about Verity and what your priority is in today's medical field, especially with a medical grade product as you have.
Sure, exactly. That's a great question as to why we're here. And it really is because of the stigma that's behind CBD. It's sold in so many different places. You can buy it in a gas station, in stores on the corner, and I think there's a confusion that CBD just is actually a medication. You know, it's an over-the-counter medication, and I think that it's important to focus on the seriousness of that and to make sure that what is being produced is of a high-quality nature and that what you're actually purchasing is what is labeled on the bottle to make sure that your product is THC-free. Because although it's legal to have THC in your product, when it comes to drug testing, especially in areas of the military, THC can't be a part of what you're taking. So we take a lot of pride in making sure that our products are THC free and that what you're buying and what is on the label on that bottle is actually what you're receiving.
Now let's get down to the nitty gritty. What the heck is CBD? Really, you know, like how is it procured from the plant and what is that process?
Jeff, you want to take that or you want me to?
Danny, you're the man on that one.
Okay.
You're from seed to bottle, so go ahead.
Yeah, okay, so CBD is one of many, many cannabinoids contained within the cannabis plant. You hear a lot between hemp and marijuana. Well, both of them are cannabis. They're the exact same plant biologically. Hemp is really just a legal definition that puts plants with a low THC into one category, plants with a higher THC in another category. So when I say cannabis, I mean hemp and marijuana combined. Cannabis contains many cannabinoids. One of them CBD, one of them's THC, you got CBG, CBN, CBC, and then you have multiple variations on that. We're going into the hundreds of compounds, and they're actually discovering new compounds, you know, as we speak.
for example, now, you've caught my attention. We have a little bit of alphabet soup here.
Yes.
And hundreds of strains, but if you could please, can you give us an example of one of the other CBD
Yeah.
that you mentioned, and what qualities could that have possibly in healing that might be being addressed right now or not, or am I completely off?
No, and those compounds do affect the system slightly differently. The way cannabinoids work is your body has a system inside of it. It's called the endocannabinoid system. That system is essentially a regulatory mechanism. It helps regulate other systems inside the body. Its whole goal is to keep those systems in what's called homeostasis, or kind of in balance. The different compounds interact with different receptors within the endocannabinoid system. There are two main receptors in your system. They're the CB1 receptors and CB2 receptors. So CBD might interact with the CB2 receptors, whereas THC only interacts with CB1 receptors. And then you have other compounds that react, like CBG, that interact with both of them.
So when you mention cannabinoid receptors, is this the derivative of the name CBD?
CBD is actually just an acronym for cannabidiol. The cannabinoid system inside your body is named the cannabinoid system because you actually internally produce your own internal cannabinoids. Your body actually has cannabinoids that it produces as part of this regulatory mechanism. Every mammal in the world has an endocannabinoid system.
Okay, so the relation to CBD having an action upon the system, can you describe that process?
Yeah, so CBD will come in, it will interact with your CB2 receptors. And when it does that, it does it almost in an antagonistic manner so that it kind of gets the system on alert to look for systems out of balance. Now, that's one of the reasons why, you hear CBD doing, helping with autoimmune, helping with nerve disorders, helping with pain or inflammation. CBD actually doesn't do any of those. It doesn't do anything directly. The only thing it does is interact with your body's own system, and that system will go and start looking for systems that are basically out of whack.
Never in my life have I heard this. I mean, I'm fascinated by CBD ever since my son introduced me CBD, go figure. But, I had been in bed for 5-6 years with this secondary autoimmune disease within my spinal cord. And, it's called arachnoiditis. And it's an autoimmune disease in which there was an irritation, injection. I had about 100 different injections within my spinal cord, over 20 surgeries. And so during this period of time, somehow, one of the irritants caused the nerves within my dura of my spinal cord to hyperreact, to defend themselves by actually creating plaque around them. It's on a McGill pain scale of 1 to 10. It's technically designated as 1,000, and they call it the suicide disease. So I'm just saying this because it was like labor contractions within my spinal cord every 10 to 15 minutes around the clock, lasting 3 to 4 minutes at a time. The reason that I tell this story is because my son was doing some research on CBD and the healing aspects of it, but also its association with the nervous system. So if you think about it, it's a neurological firestorm that's happening, right? No, whether or not you have epilepsy, you have tremors, or whatever it is, it's a neurological issue. So he found a video that he showed me, and it was this young man. He was in a room with his friends, and he had tremors that would come up, and so his hands started going like this. And then it was an example, right? He was showing everybody the benefits of CBD. And as he inhaled it, it had THC in it as well. So it was a mixture. And as he inhaled it, his hand slowly went from shaking, quite dramatically, down to a completely calm palm. Now, the minute he showed me that video, it changed my life. Because it showed me literally, wow, this has a correlation to the nervous system and its hyperactivity. It must.
Yes.
Why wouldn't it have an effect on this situation that I'm in? And these contractions, they're neurological contractions. So we ordered some from my friend down the block. store. I paid cash like a good mom does.
Yeah.
And then from that night on, it helped to cap those contractions so I could survive them until I could get to ultimately my stem cell transplant that saved my life. But that, like I said, from that moment on, it opened my eyes. My thought process was, how can something so simple have such a drastic effect like that I would need?
Yeah.
That possibly be a solution for this type of agony and trauma that I was enduring every single day. And a lot of people kind of avoid, I think, CBD or THC because number one, there's a stigma attached to it. Number two, it's, that's what kids do in a back alley. Number three, that's just too simple. How can I just inhale something and have it have the type of therapeutic effect that I need? So that really opened my mind as well to alternative solutions, and which led me down the road to stem cell transplant, which, which is what Veterans in Pain is based off of. For those who don't know, Veterans in Pain, we facilitate regenerative medical solutions to veterans suffering from intractable chronic pain. And we do that by connecting volunteer physicians with our country's heroes nationwide. And it's through this effort that we met Verity Therapeutics. And because of my own personal experience, this really, pardon the pun, struck a nerve with me that I really wanted to look into it further, especially because it is medicinal grade CBD and our veteran sensitivities to having any THC within their product. So with that said, what type of CBD products are better for one condition versus another? I know that this is a question that comes up a lot, or is it, and also the dosage. I think that is, not to pile one question upon the other. The dosage seems to throw everybody off, and nobody seems to want to give anybody an answer because they can't, quote unquote.
And honestly, we can't, as a company, we can't tell you to take CBD for any particular ailment. The FDA is very adamant about tracking down anybody making medical claims. So technically, the only medical claim that you can make as far as CBD is concerned is that it helps with juvenile epilepsy.
Wow. Okay, so a question here. So when you see a bottle that says 4,000 milligrams versus 1,000 milligrams, what does that mean?
That's actually, well, it depends on how they label it. If it's 4,000 milligrams per container, of course, that bottle has 4,000 milligrams in it. If it's 4,000 milligrams per dose, then it depends on what they're considering a dose. Typically, if you're looking at a tincture, you're looking at a milliliter dose. So if that is a 4,000 milligram, 60 milliliter tincture, then 4,000 divided by 60, that's typically your dosage. And if they're not labeling it explicitly on the front of the label of how much is in the bottle and how much is in a dosage, it would make me be wary of that product.
Thank you. That is more information than I've received in a long time. I'm like, I'll get the 4,000. It's better. It's like.
Well, and sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not, because you'll hit basically a ceiling on the effectiveness of what you're taking. And a lot of times, most people who've tried CBD and got no effect from it, evidence that we have and just anecdotal stories from people is they're taking, they might take a 300 milligram tincture and taking a dose where they're getting maybe 5 milligrams of CBD for something that requires 500 milligrams per dose. If you're taking it for chronic pain, your dosage needs to be in the hundreds of milligrams per dose. If you're taking it for if you're taking it for general anxiety, 25 to 50 milligrams per dose might work. You need really research why are you taking CBD. If you're taking it just for general health or just to kind of help maintain your system, yeah, maybe a 5 to 20 milligram dose per day is fine, and that'll work fine. But if you're taking it for something that's chronic or acute, you're going to be taking some very large doses for opioid addictions. The Mayo Clinic starts at 400 milligrams per dose for opioid addictions. So
how powerful that information is for those of us who are laymen in the field and don't understand that that's even possible or proper, or at least in our, even in our adulthood, I consider it being a bit of a child when you first enter the field of CBD and THC. You kind of tiptoe, and then you see, oh, here's a gummy package. It's 25, I'll take 25 milligrams. That's got to be a lot. It's not helping me. So to hear that for chronic pain levels, that the proper dosage in general is in the hundreds, how many people that can help.
Well, and that's one of the reasons we're very big on getting education out there, because all of these people that are trying it, and just from a pure selfish and business standpoint, these are potential customers that are getting burnt that won't try CBD again because they tried it and it didn't work. They need to be educated on what actually works for whatever condition they want to take it for.
Yeah, and those that I think that are creating the product, and not to include you in this realm because we're learning so much from you, but a lot of this information, I think that on the manufacturing side is assumed.
It's also very hard for a manufacturer to be able to present this information to the public without making a medical claim. That's part of you know, it's a two-edged sword what the FDA is doing. They are protecting the consumer, and they are doing a decent job of protecting the consumer from people who are making false claims. They're also preventing information coming from, you know, the clinical studies, because I can't publish a clinical study. There's over 2,000 clinical studies that involve CBD. I can't link to, I can't talk about, and I can't publish anything. And for the general public, for them to go out and get this information, they're going to have to go onto PubMed and start doing and searching clinical studies to see what they need, or they're going to, you know, the Mayo Clinic and seeing what they're using for their patients, or they're going to these other sources for information that are not so readily available and kind of hard to navigate. So I don't necessarily blame all the other manufacturers either, because we can't really tell the public what to take it for or how much to take, because as soon as we do, we're making a medical claim.
Right. At least that little bit of information is so incredibly helpful. That's going to make a huge difference, even to myself. Jeff, please, you were going to say something.
Micaela, that's kind of the reason why we started Verity Therapeutics. When I first looked at this opportunity, it's something that I didn't want to do because I considered CBD to be hocus pocus. And then I did some more research and I said, wait a second, there's a lot of science behind this. And I said, why don't people know about this? And, you know, working with Danny and talking with Danny, there are reasons why people don't know it. So as we've said before, Verity is only sold through the healthcare practitioner. So through a doctor or a physician assistant or a nurse practitioner. And the reason is we can take these studies and this information, we can present it to the physician. We can talk about dosing to the physician. These are things, because it's not going out to the public, that we can educate the physician or the healthcare practitioner and let them know how to best prescribe CBD for their patient. And that's how Verity Therapeutics came along. Now, through this special relationship with Veterans in Pain, which we're super excited about, you don't have to go to your physician to get Verity Therapeutics product. You can now shop, using the V.I.P link and get Verity Therapeutics product using that link and pursuing off of our website.
Great. And I believe that the link is veritytherapeutics.com/shop-VIP. Already, from my own experience, I know that your pricing is very accessible. I don't know how the pricing could actually be lower in the quality of product that you're offering, but you can receive a 20% discount. That is by putting in VIP 20. And also to enter the site, I believe you need to put in a code password, which is VIP 20, lowercase. And again, you know, I never thought that we would be so comfortable as to partner with a CBD company until I learned about your company and the quality of product, having used it myself as well. Now, Jeff, I have a question for you. So what differentiates medical grade CBD? What is the process that your company, or manufacturing has to go through in order for it to be designated medical grade CBD, and what does that consist of?
And Micaela, I'm going to throw that right back to Danny, because Danny's actually the one that deals with all this, and if you want to look at the person who manufactures the product and really cares about the quality, That's Danny. Danny is the guy behind this whole process, and he's been terrific. So Danny, I'm going to let you take that question.
A lot of it comes into the process and how it's manufactured. Again, you can get medical grade CBD from places that don't say it's medical grade if they're doing everything properly. What we did, again, we registered with the FDA, work with the health department to make sure our processes is correct, and we do thorough testing through every step of the manufacturing process. So when raw hemp comes in, it's tested. When the extraction's done, it's tested. When the distillation's done, it's tested. When the isolation's done, it's tested. When it goes into manufactured goods, it's tested. With every product, you'll probably have anywhere from 4 to 8 certificates of analysis on that end product that you can track. It's that kind of accountability and processes that end up making it a medical grade product.
Now, the interesting thing I noticed that on your bottles, you have a QR code.
Yeah, the QR code, basically you scan the QR code and it will take you to a page that essentially shows you the product that you're holding. And then on each product, you have a batch number. You find the corresponding batch number on that page, click on it, it will tell you the end product results of the testing for that product.
Regarding CBD and inflammation, can you please explain whether or not there is a correlation between the efficacy of CBD on certain inflammatory conditions? And if it is, how does that work?
Yeah, there are a lot of clinical studies that show CBD being effective for inflammation. Now, depending on the exact source of the inflammation, what CBD can do is help control the inflammation markers being thrown off from that condition. The only way it does that is by triggering your body's own endocannabinoid system into going looking for those systems that are putting out too much inflammation markers as well. You know, where you get a lot of water swelling around the midsection and thighs. We've seen some great results with that in cancer patients. It does do quite a bit for inflammation and even the inflammation in autoimmune disorders, where you see things like Crohn's disease or lupus and things like that, where you're seeing reductions in inflammation. As far as stuff like arthritis goes, and this might answer some of your earlier questions too, in arthritis patients, there's one clinical study, and I'm trying to remember the exact title of it, but they basically measured the distance that arthritis patients could walk prior to beginning a CBD treatment and after CBD treatments. And I think the average distance was 92 meters before and something along the neighborhood, and again, don't quote me on the exact numbers, but something along the neighborhood of 270 meters after. Where they found the most benefit was through ingested CBD in combination with a topical CBD. Now, you know, because the topical CBD you tend to get CBD concentrating in a certain area, and in particular around the fat cells and the muscle cells in that area. So you tend to get a little bit more localized effect for it, even though it will absorb and end up in your blood system. Eventually, get a lot more of the CBD in those areas. One of the good things about topical CBD is it's not processed through the liver. And again, one thing we should put out there that everybody should know is CBD is processed through the liver if it's ingested. It's also the process that metabolizes CBD in your liver is also a process that metabolizes a lot of different drugs. So there can be, not necessarily a drug interaction, but what it is CBD will, to put it in layman's terms, jump in front of these other drugs that use that same system and get metabolized first, and then they will come in behind it. So if you're on a drug like a statin, there's some certain statins and blood thinners that you really don't want to take with CBD without notifying your doctor, because you'll end up building up more of that drug in your liver. If you're taking CBD and that drug on a regular basis, over time you build up more and more of that drug, and you can actually get a toxic effect.
Wow. So interesting. You know, and pain is 90, well, we say, we don't know whether or not it's exact or not either, but the general consensus is, you know, the majority, let's say a percentage, but a majority of pain is caused by inflammation. Mm-hmm. So it's a huge factor, understanding that CBD plays a role in your body being able to self-correct itself. And I think that in alternative solutions that are, let's call alternative solutions, non-typical Western medicinal solution. have a tendency to, like with orthobiologic solutions. So we used to call it regenerative, we used to call it stem cell, but now we understand there's so many different types of orthobiologic solutions. Many of them not having stem cell in it at all, more being a combination of thousands of hyaluronic acids and proteins and growth factors. And what these things do is that they are not the fixers, right? They are the ones that have the information through the RNA factors, which then tell the body exactly where to start regenerating certain tissue. They tell those what to do, correct? So it's interesting to see those parallels between the biologic solutions and these growth factors and what they do, and CBD being their messengers, right? So they're helping to, they're the director of the choir, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually a pretty good analogy between the two, is because they don't directly do anything to any condition. They basically just set your body off, and if your body can fix it, it can start working in that direction.
Correct. And with orthobiologics too, say you do have an injection, say you do have a PRP injection within a joint. If there's no soft tissue in there to regenerate, if it's bone on bone, it's not going to create it. I think that's a misnomer a lot of people don't understand. And it just more reinforces the fact that these are messengers that help create the atmosphere in which regeneration can occur, or inflammation can be decreased, or whatever the healing factor might be. So the theory is you do not want to take anti-inflammatories or anything with an anti-inflammatory effect within 2 weeks of an orthobiologic protocol, nor do you want to have them within 2 to 3 weeks after. So if anybody is, which is kind of ironic considering that the interaction that orthobiologics have within the body it is the nuclear bomb of anti-inflammatories, but so the theory being, just a little bit of trivia here, that you don't want you want the stem cells to be attracted to the right inflammation, the chronic inflammation. So if you have any additional inflammation in the body, it'll be attracted towards that, which is why you don't want to have an acute injury. You don't want to have a sprained ankle. You don't want to have a broken bone. But also, you want that inflammation in there, in that region where the injection is going, if it is an injection, or even an IV transplant, because that's how the cells know where to go. They're attracted to inflammation. So you don't want to limit that at all. 3 to 4 weeks after a treatment, then yes, I would think that it's very interesting. I'm going to start looking into the studies which may have been done on the assistance that CBD may have on these orthobiologic solutions once you can reach that anti-inflammatory sector of the recovery, and how it might help support that and help keep people out of pain. You know, an anti-inflammatory diet is absolutely essential within about 3 weeks afterwards. Help your body keep regenerating, and at that point the stem cells have launched their process. They know where to go, and the information has gone where it needs to. So just another thought, and very interesting on how these alternative solutions can kind of support one another, maybe or not, but I'd highly encourage people to look into that as well in those studies. Again, is there anything you'd like to add, or any questions you may have?
Micaela, I was wondering, do you want Danny to talk a little bit about when to use a balm, when to use a tincture, when to use the different types of CBDs that are out there?
Don't worry, I've got my pillow and my camping chair. And
you look very comfy, I have to be honest.
I have my wheelchair back there, and it's not going to happen today. Forget, my posture is not going to go over well long term. Yes, Danny, could you please explain to us the different applications of CBD, whether it be spray or ingestibles?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think there's got to be a lot of education and understanding there. You have tinctures, you have ingestibles, you have balms, and when do you use those? And that's the question. I mean, when you're using CBD, coming from a pharmaceutical background, there's reasons why a drug doesn't work, right? One is that maybe it doesn't work for that condition, right? And that's possible. There's a lot of drug trials where the drug just doesn't work. The other is maybe the dose isn't high enough, right? And there's something that we talk about, dose to effect. So you try to start at the lowest dose possible, and then you increase the dose until you see some sort of effect. And the third case would be maybe it's the wrong route of administration. And I don't know, Danny, if you want to talk a little bit about route of administration and maybe the different types of conditions that are out there, and what route of administration you would suggest.
Yeah, I mean, you have ingestible and topical, the two ways to take CBD. And a lot of what you see out there, you'll see gummy bears, you see the tinctures, we have the liposomal sprays, and then you have the various topical administrative things. Anything that you eat, like be it a gummy or you've seen these CBD brownies or put it in a coffee or something like that, you're going to ingest it and it's going to get into the blood system much slower than some of the other methods to take it. There's inhalation, whether you can vape it as well. But the fastest ways into the blood system is through inhalation and through tincture under the tongue or our liposomal sprays. We chose liposomal as a delivery mechanism simply because it gets much more of the CBD into your body versus a regular tincture.
What is the liposomal spray?
Oh, well, it is. Okay. Basically, it goes to what's a liposome is really what you're asking. So a liposome is essentially, it's a little hollow ball, and they use it for cancer drugs and other things. It's not any new technology that we came up with. It was developed back in the 60s for the delivery of lipid-based compounds, typically vitamin E, vitamin C, stuff like that. It's a hollow ball. On one side, you have what's called, it's phospholipids. So on the outside, you have a phosphorus outside, and you have a lipid on the inside. Lipid binds to the CBD or whatever compounds inside of it, and it protects it as it goes through the GI system. So most CBD that you take is destroyed in the gut. When it hits your stomach, it's destroyed. So if you take normal CBD with through a tincture, you'll absorb anywhere from 8 to maybe on the very high side, 20% of the CBD. By encapsulating in a liposome, your body's able to absorb anywhere from 45 to 75% of the CBD.
Wow. So essentially, liposomal, lipoid, that's a fat.
Yes, it's a fat. Yeah. CBD is a lipid-based compound.
So CBD alone is a lipid-based compound.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So then you're protecting it even further by distributing it within liposomal.
Yeah, we encapsulate. Basically, it creates. We have a little machine, and we run it through a process, and it ends up encapsulating the liposome in basically a protective ball, and that ball protects it through your GI system. Now, the interesting thing about phospholipids is every cell in your body is made up of a phospholipid bilayer. That phospholipid actually helps with absorption in your system as well.
That's fantastic. I've never even, well, it's fantastic only because I haven't heard of it before. These phospholipids,
yeah.
Lipids.
Phosphorus and phospholipid.
What role do they play in the, I'm looking for something right now because I have it here.
Yeah.
Right, you can tell I'm going to be editing this one. I'm just getting out my phospholipids.
Yeah.
Hold on. I know we're going to in it, but literally just trying to look for the product because I have it on me all the time now. Danny Bannister.
We got into this several years ago with the notion that, there's too much of the CBD business is people coming out of and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but they're coming out of the marijuana world. A lot of them were people that were just, because of the legality of where CBD or THC stood, they were skirting the law, skirting the rules, and they were kind of used to that. So when we got into it, we saw a big opportunity that if you do it right and you play by the rules and you work with the governmental agencies, the literal first call we made was to the DEA, so that we did everything correctly. Our next call, go ahead. Yeah. So then we went to the state health agencies to make sure we manufactured it right. We were the first company to be licensed under the state of Oklahoma. We were the first, and as far as I know, still the only company that approached them and wasn't sought out by them to get licensed.
Do either of you have a connection to the military? Have you had relatives that have served in the military at all?
Oh, I come from a military family, and I was on a Navy scholarship for a while in college for their nuclear program, but I also played football And now I got a metal and plastic shoulder that disqualified me for the Navy.
And Micaela, yes, we have a rich history on the military on my side as well. My father served in the Army. My father-in-law served in the Air Force, and I'm proud to say that my son just graduated from Air Force ROTC and will be going active here in a month, and he's super excited about that. And it was this experience that I have that I just want to thank you for the opportunity to partner with Veterans in Pain. I can't think of a better place to give back to the community and the time that you put into it and the things that you can do. I'm just super excited about the partnership, and we can't give enough to our military. And I'm so proud of our military and really value the sacrifice that each of them give away from their family and friends and the tough situations that they're in. And we just want to say thank you.
Well, thank you for that. Our gratitude goes to you as a family member of those who serve, and the sacrifices that you make as well. And the whole reason that we are here is in our own service and gratitude to those who have served our country and have sacrificed so much, including their quality of life, for our freedoms. So it's service and gratitude, I think, all the way around. And, thank you so much for creating the charitable giving program that you have. We understand that although you do need a physician's prescription in order to be able to obtain Verity Therapeutics, CBD, on a general level, your charitable giving program allows nonprofits such as ourselves to be able to partner with you with our own personal portals so that our supporters, our followers, and our veterans can have greater access to your product at a discount. And also to note, 20% of all of those sales go directly to treatments for our veterans receiving orthobiologic solutions through our program. 100% goes directly to treatments. So, thank you both for joining us today. We really appreciate your time, your energies, your effort, and your mission in support of our veterans and our veteran community, as well as the quality of product education and awareness that you allow those of us who just want to understand a little bit better the nature of alternative solutions. So we appreciate you joining us today on V.I.P Vet Talk.
Great, it's good being here.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.